What's up, Ragin Nation? How's it going? This is Alex, and you're watching the Marvel edition of the Ragin Nation show. This is just a web series where we talk about all things that matter to me in the world of Marvel films. This is episode number 32, and we got a lot to talk about in this episode because we're going to recap on some of the updates and announcements that have been happening for the upcoming Marvel films. Now, let's first talk about the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And the one thing that I got to talk about with regards to the Marvel Cinematic Universe is that they now have a confirmed date for Doctor Strange. A Doctor Strange film is happening, and now we already knew that a Doctor Strange film was going to be coming soon, but we didn't know exactly when. But now we have the official confirmed release date for a Doctor Strange film, and that is July 8th, 2016, and it most likely will be shot in the UK. This is all very exciting because now we're getting another new addition to the Marvel Cinematic Universe as a character that we've never seen yet. The only time we've ever been even teased for a Doctor Strange character into the Marvel Cinematic Universe is when his name was seen, Stephen Strange, in Captain America the Winter Soldier. Alright, so that was a bit of a teaser, but now we have a official release date, and it is July 8th, 2016. Now, we all knew that there was going to be a Doctor Strange film coming sooner or later. Kevin Feige, Stan Lee have been talking about the possibility of a Doctor Strange film. Now, finally, it is here, and it will be directed by director Scott Derrickson. And there has been rumors that Joaquin Phoenix will be playing Doctor Strange. But that is all just a rumor, and they've actually produced concept art for Doctor Strange if he were going to be played by Joaquin Phoenix. And Joaquin Phoenix totally looks the part. Now, whether he is going to play Doctor Strange, that's still up in the air. Right now, I'm not excited about who's going to be cast as Doctor Strange. I'm excited about the fact that we're getting a Doctor Strange film in less than 2 years. So very exciting stuff, and I'm just excited about the fact that it's an addition into the Marvel Cinematic Universe, which isn't a sequel. I mean, we've seen like Thor sequels, Captain America sequels, Iron Man sequels, but now we're getting a new addition, like a brand new character. So very, very cool, all right? So enough about the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Let's talk about the Marvel films from 20th Century Fox. And of course, the big one is the X-Men franchise, and what's coming soon is, of course, X-Men Apocalypse. And let's just first talk about Professor X. And what's going to be happening for X-Men Apocalypse is that it looks like James McAvoy might be going bald. Maybe. Okay, that's not confirmed. But all he said in a recent interview is that he is going to be representing an older version of Professor X. Now, if that is supposed to hint that he might be losing his hair, then that might be kind of interesting for the character to see that evolution. I mean, in First Class and in Days of Future Past, he's got the long hair, unshaven look, right? But it's going to be kind of cool to see him in a wheelchair with, you know, little to no hair. You know, we can see the gradual evolution as for him becoming more of the Patrick Stewart look. So that's going to be kind of interesting, and I'm excited to see that. All right. With regards to more news about X-Men Apocalypse, writer Simon Kinberg mentioned that, of course, we already knew that X-Men Apocalypse cast will be comprised of mostly the X-Men First Class cast, but he just recently mentioned in an interview that it's possible we might see other characters, such as Storm and Cyclops, but they might not be played by James Marsden and Halle Berry, and it's mainly because of the time zone that they're in, okay? Because of the time zone or time period that they're in, we haven't gotten to the, I guess, adult versions of those characters. James Marsden playing Cyclops, Halle Berry playing Storm. We're not quite there yet, so therefore it might not, we might be seeing either still like younger versions of themselves, or we may be seeing future versions of themselves, but it won't be versions of those characters played by the original actors that we saw in the first 3 X-Men films, all right? So that is going to be very interesting. Now, the big news with regards to X-Men Apocalypse is that we now have a director. And who would that director be, you might ask? Well, that director, announced today, is going to be director Bryan Singer, who directed the first X-Men film, X2, and also, of course, the most recent success, X-Men Days of Future Past. Now, that is all very exciting. I honestly can't think of a better director to be directing X-Men Apocalypse. Now, a lot of you guys might not be excited about this, but actually I'm very excited, mainly because they actually didn't have a confirmed director for X-Men Apocalypse up until now. They had X-Men Apocalypse. X-Men Days of Future Past director Bryan Singer as a producer for X-Men Apocalypse, but he actually never mentioned whether or not he was going to direct it. He definitely was going to be serving as a producer because he intentionally ended X-Men Days of Future Past, so that it would lead up to Apocalypse. So he has a hand in that creative process. But it is announced today that he officially will be directing X-Men Apocalypse. And I'm actually glad to know that, because it would be great to know the second part of the bigger picture, the second half of the bigger picture through his vision. Because his vision of the first half was brought to us in X-Men Days of Future Past. So let's see him conclude that story through his vision and not somebody else's. So I'm really excited about that. Now, the big news, of course, in the last couple of days is about the announcement of a Deadpool movie. Okay? Deadpool is going to be coming on February 12th, 2016. Very, very exciting. This movie has been trying to get off the ground for a very, very long time. Producer Lauren Schuller Donner has wanted to get this movie off the ground, but it was a bit of a sticky situation because they weren't sure how to approach this. I mean, X-Men Origins Wolverine wasn't very well received from the fans. So how do you make this movie happen when a lot of the fans felt that they didn't portray Deadpool in a really good light? Okay? They didn't do justice to the character. However, on the other hand, a lot of fans wanted Ryan Reynolds to be back as Deadpool. Now, that's all up in the air. The only thing confirmed right now is that Deadpool is coming on February 12th, 2016 with Tim Miller directing, but there's no confirmation of Ryan Reynolds as the title character. Producer Lauren Schuller Donner wants Ryan Reynolds. She cannot think of another actor to play Deadpool. We've already seen him play Deadpool, and in fact, he lent his voice for that CG, I guess, test footage for that Deadpool that just made the rounds all over the internet. Now, the big news is that even though there is a Deadpool film, it may not be the Deadpool film that a lot of fans were looking for. Now, if you don't know the story behind Deadpool, the only thing that you really need to know is that Deadpool is a bounty hunter. He's fully weaponized. His primary weapon is, of course, his swords and his guns. So this is supposed to make for a very violent film. He takes out his opponents in a very violent manner, and he's also a what they call a mercenary, with a merc with a mouth, and he's actually a very foul-mouthed mercenary. So he most likely would be dropping F-bombs, you might think, right? But apparently, the possibility of an R-rated Deadpool film might not be happening. In fact, it looks like the studios are leaning more towards a PG-13 route. Now, I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised mainly because Deadpool is part of the X-Men universe. The X-Men universe has always been PG-13. The X-Men universe is PG-13 because it's a comic book movie. It's a comic book movie which has always been directed, or rather geared towards, a very wide audience with a very wide age range, from kids to teenagers to adults. And Deadpool is a character in that universe. Why would you have that character solo film rated with a rated R with an R rating rather. All right, and that is, of course, you'd want it to be a R rating to really do justice to the essence of that character. You know, he has a very violent. The concept of Deadpool alone is actually very violent, and also he's very foul-mouthed. So that's why you would have an R rating. But from a storytelling standpoint, connected with the X-Men universe, you gotta make it PG-13. You know what? It's not something that I want, but as a business for the studios, you gotta make it PG-13. Now, is it gonna be PG-13? Is it gonna be rated R? Nobody knows yet. Now, they didn't confirm that it's gonna be PG-13 because the co-screenwriter of the Deadpool film, that would be Rhett Reese, says that the rating still has not been determined. All right? So, I just want to let you guys know that it still might be an R rating, but it still possibly could end up being a PG-13 rating. But I just want to know one thing. I just want one thing to happen, and that is for it to be good. That's all I want. It doesn't matter to me if it's a PG-13 rating. It doesn't matter to me if it's an R rating. I would prefer an R rating over a PG-13 rating, but if they keep it a PG-13 rating, I'm fine with that as long as they make it good. Now, they can totally make a good film even though it's a PG-13 rating. The main reason why is because we have seen X-Men, or rather the Wolverine. You know, the most recent Wolverine film. We've seen that. And that was actually shot for an R rating, but cut down for a theatrical release of a PG-13 rating. Okay? Now, the Wolverine wasn't really, really good, but I gotta say that the first 2 acts of the film were pretty good. Okay? It's the third act that fell apart. But the film itself actually was very, it was a very hard, edgy PG-13 rating, and they were able to pull that off. And I also thought that X2, all right, directed by Bryan Singer, is where he really was, I mean, the Wolverine was really bringing out the rage, and you really saw an edgier PG-13 rating for an X-Men film. So if they can continue to do that, all right, which they can totally do, then a PG-13 Deadpool movie can totally work. Okay, so I'm just excited that there's a film happening at all, and it's going to be happening in less than 2 years, which means that they better start shooting very, very soon. In fact, they better start getting the script done by the end of the year so that they can shoot early next year in 2015, and we're talking about January, February of 2015. So very, very exciting stuff. Like I said, Deadpool is coming out February 2016. Tim Miller is directing. No confirmation of Ryan Reynolds and no confirmation of PG-13 or an R rating. There you have it. That's all I got to say in this video. What do you guys think about that? Let me know in the comment section below. And also, what do you think about Bryan Singer being back to direct X-Men Apocalypse? Let me know about your thoughts about that in the comment section below. And there you have it. That's all I got to say in this video. As always, if you enjoyed this video, hit the like button, subscribe to the YouTube channel, like me on Facebook, The Ragin Nation. Also follow me on Twitter at Ragin Nation, and stay tuned for the Marvel Edition episode number 33, because we're going to definitely have more to talk about in the next episode. My name's Alex. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. Peace. And he says, quote, "There isn't one in the pipe," Downey Jr. said in an interview with Variety. "No, there's no plan for a 4th Iron Man."